The galaxy believed it had seen the end of humanity. For centuries, alien empires whispered about the dangerous species from the small blue planet called Earth. They called humans unpredictable, too stubborn, too violent to be trusted with power. At first, it was only words spoken in high councils, debates that filled the halls of alien governments. But slowly, whispers turned into plans, and plans turned into fleets of warships. The day came when the sky above Earth burned. Every human remembered that moment, the moment when the stars filled with enemy ships. There were no warnings, no negotiations, no last chance for peace. The galaxy had decided humanity's fate without asking for their voice. Erase them before they rise too far, the alien rulers said. It was not a war. It was a purge. The first strikes destroyed entire cities. Millions died within hours. Human defenses fought back, but they were overwhelmed. The attackers came in endless numbers, their technology far beyond what Earth had known. Whole continents turned to fire. Oceans boiled where weapons cut through the sky. Children clung to their parents in the ruins, asking questions no parent could answer. Humanity was not fighting for victory anymore. Humanity was fighting for survival, for one more breath, for one more hour. In the chaos, a group of leaders gathered in underground bunkers. Military commanders, scientists, engineers, and the last politicians who still stood alive. They looked at the maps filled with red, showing territories lost, fleets destroyed, and casualties so high the numbers meant nothing anymore. Despair hung in the air like smoke. Some argued surrender. But what was surrender to those who had already chosen extinction? The galaxy did not want submission. It wanted silence. It wanted humanity erased like dust swept from a floor. It was in that moment, when everything seemed lost, that humanity showed its truest face. A face not of weakness but of defiance. The commanders gave one order: we will not vanish. Hidden deep under Earth's crust, ancient projects long abandoned were brought to life. Warships that were never meant to fly were pulled from their hangars. Engines that had never been tested roared awake. Scientists rushed to finish weapons that were still incomplete. Every hand, every mind, every soul came together because they knew this was their last stand. Above the planet, alien fleets continued their purge. Entire cities crumbled into ash. Yet on the surface, humans prepared something greater than survival. They prepared a seed, not a seed of surrender but of vengeance. A fleet built not to save Earth, but to carry the memory of Earth far into the stars. When the final bombardments began, when Earth itself cracked under the fire of alien cannons, a small number of ships rose from hidden launch sites. They carried soldiers, families, children, and the brightest minds who still lived. They carried the last hope of humanity. As the sky collapsed in flames, those ships disappeared into the void. Many were destroyed before they reached safety, torn apart by alien patrols. But some escaped, vanishing into dark space where no one could follow. The aliens declared victory. They broadcast their triumph across the galaxy. Humanity is no more, the council leaders announced. The dangerous species has been erased, and for a time the galaxy believed them. Records of Earth were sealed. Maps were rewritten. Even the word human became something forbidden to speak. A name, buried like a curse. But in the darkness beyond the edge of known space, the survivors endured. They carried their pain like fire, their grief like steel. Children who had watched their homes burn grew into adults with hatred carved into their bones. Scientists who had seen their work destroyed built again, this time stronger, sharper, deadlier. Every ship became a fortress. Every survivor became a soldier. Humanity, the species the galaxy tried to erase, learned patience in the shadows. Still, for the galaxy, silence was enough. Years passed, then decades. Humanity became nothing but a ghost story told in hushed voices. Do not be reckless, alien parents warned their children. Do not be like the humans. But in secret corners, some asked questions. If humanity was truly gone, why did raider fleets vanish without trace? Why did colonies on the edge of space suddenly fall silent, as if swallowed by an unseen hand? Why did the wreckage of ships bear scars of weapons no empire claimed? The answer lived in the survivors. Hidden among stars, unmarked on any map, humanity was no longer weak. They were no longer the ones running. They were becoming something else, something the galaxy had feared from the beginning. And as the galaxy slept, believing the danger gone, humanity whispered a promise to the void. You tried to erase us. You failed. One day we will return, and when we do, the galaxy will remember our name. For 100 years, the galaxy lived as if humanity were only a memory. Alien worlds rebuilt, trade routes flourished, and the great empires congratulated themselves for removing what they once called a threat. In their grand halls, they spoke with pride. We saved civilization, they told one another. We removed the disease before it spread. To them, the silence of Earth was proof of their wisdom, but silence can be misleading. Silence can hide storms. It began with whispers on the trade lanes. A merchant ship reported being saved from pirates by a fleet it never saw. The raiders were reduced to drifting wrecks, but no one came forward to claim credit. Then came the stories of colonies that had been enslaved by minor warlords, only to wake one morning to find their masters gone and the chains cut from their wrists. Survivors said they saw figures in armor, strange, silent warriors who vanished as quickly as they appeared. Most dismissed the tales. They said it was lies, myths born from fear. But as the years passed, more and more reports spread. Entire pirate factions disappeared overnight. Smugglers who once ruled star systems went silent. In the Outer Rim, abandoned alien warships were found floating in space, their crews slaughtered, their hulls marked with wounds no known weapon could explain. The Council ignored it at first. Empires rise, empires fall. That was the way of the galaxy. But one alien commander, a sharp-eyed strategist named Zaltron, saw the pattern. He studied the wreckage reports, listened to the whispers, and asked a question no one else dared to speak. What if it is them? His peers laughed. Impossible, they said. Humanity was erased. We burned their world. We destroyed their fleets. We buried their name. But the doubt never left him. For in the ruins, in the shadows of forgotten battlefields, Zaltron saw something familiar. He studied the scars left by the mysterious weapons. They were crude, yet deadly. They carried the same chaotic style, the same brutal efficiency that had once made humans feared across battlefields. No other species fought like that. No other species turned desperation into victory the way they did. He could not prove it, but his instincts screamed. Humanity was not gone. Humanity was waiting. Meanwhile, far from the Council, the truth unfolded in silence. The survivors of Earth had grown. In the darkness of uncharted space, their hidden colonies spread like seeds scattered across the void. Children were born who never saw Earth, but who carried its memory in their blood. Elders spoke of the burning skies, of the day the galaxy tried to erase them. Young ones listened with wide eyes, swearing oaths of vengeance before they were old enough to hold a weapon. Entire generations were raised with one purpose: to return. Their ships no longer looked like the fragile vessels of old Earth. They were black as the void, sharp and angular, made for both speed and terror. Their weapons were built from stolen designs, improved through human creativity and desperation. Their fleets moved like shadows, striking and vanishing before enemies could respond. They called themselves the Forgotten, though among themselves they used a different word: humanity. Every time they struck, they left behind no bodies, no messages, no claims of victory, only silence. But to those who saw it, the silence was louder than any shout. On one alien mining world, deep in the Outer Rim, the workers spoke of the night the stars fell. Raiders had taken control of their planet, forcing entire families into slavery. Then, without warning, a storm of light tore through the sky. Strange ships descended, sleek and merciless. In less than an hour, the raiders were gone, their strongholds reduced to rubble. The slaves were freed, but when they begged to know who had saved them, the black ships vanished into the clouds. The whispers grew. Some said the ghosts were avengers. Others said they were demons. A few spoke the forbidden word in hushed tones: humans. In the council chambers, fear spread quietly. They would never admit it in public, but behind closed doors, the leaders asked the same question as Commander Zoltran. Could it be true? Could the most hated species of all still survive, hidden in the dark? If it was true, then the council faced a danger greater than any warlord or pirate fleet. Because if humans still lived, they were no longer weak. They had endured the fire meant to destroy them. And a species that survives extinction does not return as prey. It returns as a predator. Far from their eyes, in a system cloaked from scanners, a massive ship floated in silence. Its hull was scarred, its weapons bristling. This was the heart of the forgotten fleet. Inside, men and women stood at consoles, training for the day they would no longer need to hide. Their leader, an old soldier with eyes like steel, looked out over the void. "They think we are ghosts," he said to his crew. "Let them. Ghosts are feared. Ghosts cannot be killed. And one day, when they least expect it, we will remind the galaxy that humanity never dies. The whispers would not remain whispers forever." The galaxy had grown comfortable in its lie. For more than a century, the Council had declared humanity gone, erased, nothing more than a dangerous story used to frighten children. But comfort makes even the strongest rulers blind. While they looked inward, fighting their petty rivalries, something moved in the shadows, something they thought impossible. It happened first in the Shola Belt, a region where pirate clans ruled for generations. Dozens of alien warbands had carved out power there, preying on weaker colonies. Yet one night the entire belt went silent. Council scouts sent ships to investigate. What they found was not war, it was slaughter. Pirate strongholds were reduced to twisted metal. Entire fleets were left drifting, their engines torn apart, their bridges melted into glass. And carved into the hull of one massive wreck was a single symbol, burned deep by weapons fire. A circle with a line through it. No one understood it at first, but in ancient human archives, hidden and forbidden, that mark was known. It was the symbol once painted on the side of Earth's warships. Humanity had left its calling card. The Council tried to suppress the news. They called it sabotage, blamed rival empires, accused old enemies. But the whispers grew louder. Survivors told a different story. They spoke of ships black as the void, moving faster than anything they had ever seen. They spoke of soldiers in armor, their faces hidden, their voices cold. And one phrase kept repeating in terrified voices: they called themselves human. For Commander Zoltran, it was the proof he had long suspected. Humanity had not died. It had been waiting. Patient, silent, growing strong where no one could see. He tried to warn the Council, but they laughed at him again. "Do not feed old myths," they said. "Do not chase ghosts." But ghosts were real. Far from the heart of the galaxy, in a sector unmarked on maps, the truth revealed itself. A colossal ship emerged from the shadows, larger than any vessel built by the surviving colonies of the Rim. Its surface was jagged with scars, as if it had endured centuries of war. Yet its engines glowed with a power no alien design could match. This was the flagship of the Forgotten Fleet. Its name, painted in human letters across its side, carried a weight older than the silence of space, the Resolute. Inside, generations of survivors had turned into warriors. Men and women who had been born in exile now walked the halls with pride, trained from childhood in combat and strategy. Their children had never touched Earth's soil, but they carried its memory in stories whispered by their elders. For them, the galaxy was not a place of peace. It was the enemy. Every empire, every council member, every species that had watched Earth burn was guilty. The Resolute was not alone. As it drifted from the void, dozens of ships followed, black, sharp, alive with deadly purpose. This was the fleet the galaxy had failed to destroy. This was the promise made in fire, now reborn in steel. Their leader, Captain Adrian Kyle, stood at the command deck. His hair was white, his face carved with years of exile, but his eyes burned with something eternal. He looked at the stars on the map, each light a world that had once cheered at Earth's destruction. "The galaxy thinks we are gone," he said to his officers. His voice was low, steady, filled with a quiet fury. "Let them keep believing. And then, when their walls are weakest, when their pride is highest, we will show them what it means to erase humanity and fail." His words were answered not by cheers, but by silence. Not fear, but determination. Every man and woman aboard the fleet knew their mission. They were not explorers. They were not colonists. They were the storm waiting to fall. The first strike was chosen carefully. Not a small colony, not a pirate base. A council fortress world, one of the strongholds built to keep the Rim in order. Its defenses were unmatched, its fleets vast. But when the forgotten fleet arrived, it did not matter. The attack came like lightning in the night. Sensors screamed too late. Defenses meant to repel raiders crumbled under human weapons that pierced shields like paper. Alien captains shouted orders, but their ships were torn apart in minutes. On the ground, soldiers watched in horror as fire rained from the sky. And when the smoke cleared, the fortress that had stood for centuries was nothing but ruin. The council was stunned. No empire had the power to destroy such a stronghold so quickly. Yet in the wreckage they found it again, the symbol of the circle and the line. And this time there was no denying what it meant. Humanity had returned. Across the galaxy, fear spread like wildfire. To some, it was a nightmare reborn. To others, it was justice long delayed. In hidden corners, oppressed colonies whispered prayers to the ghosts of Earth, hoping they would come for them next. For the first time in centuries, the balance of power shifted. The species the galaxy had tried to erase now moved to claim it all. The council met in panic. Some demanded new fleets to crush the humans before they grew too strong. Others argued for negotiation, though none dared to speak the word peace. But Zoltran, watching the chaos unfold, spoke only one truth. You cannot erase a fire by trying to bury it. You only make it burn hotter, and above the galaxy, hidden in shadows, the forgotten fleet prepared for the next strike. The galaxy had grown used to war, but nothing prepared it for the storm humanity unleashed. The council had faced uprisings before, pirates, separatists, even rival empires, but those battles followed rules they understood. Fleets met fleets, treaties followed bloodshed, and balance always returned. But when humanity's forgotten fleet emerged from exile, it did not fight by the galaxy's rules. It fought like something far older, something primal. The first shock came when 3 council fleets were sent to crush the uprising near the shattered fortress world. They expected a cornered enemy, a desperate remnant clinging to stolen ships. Instead, they found silence. No signals, no trace of human ships. The admirals laughed at the rumors of ghost fleets and ordered their squadrons deeper into the sector. Then the stars came alive. The human ships emerged not from hyperspace gates, but from void fields that no scanner detected. The Resolute led the charge, flanked by black warships that struck from every angle. Alien fleets once so confident crumbled under the assault. Human weapons ignored their shields, cutting straight into engines and bridges. Alien admirals shouted for retreat, but the humans did not allow it. They had not come to chase enemies away. They had come to destroy. Within hours, 3 entire fleets were reduced to wreckage. Not one ship returned to tell the council what they had seen. Only fragments of battle recordings survived, but they showed enough. The black ships, the strange symbol carved into the wreckage, and voices shouting in a language thought extinct. For the first time in generations, the council felt fear. The news spread faster than light. Worlds that once mocked the human name now whispered it like a warning. On frontier colonies, oppressed workers painted the human symbol on walls, daring their masters to see. Children in slave camps repeated a phrase they did not fully understand: "The humans are coming." The forgotten fleet grew bolder. No longer satisfied with striking pirates and raiders, they turned on the council itself. Supply lines vanished. Outposts went silent. Star systems switched allegiance overnight, some out of fear, others out of admiration. Humanity had become more than a threat. It had become an idea. An idea of resistance, an idea of vengeance. Inside the council, panic and division spread. Some called for total war, to burn every corner of the galaxy where humans might hide. Others argued that humanity had grown too strong, that negotiation was the only chance for survival. But pride blinded them. No one wanted to admit their great purge had failed. No one wanted to admit their crime had birthed a greater enemy, and all the while, the humans advanced. On one world, the Council sent an army of 100,000 soldiers to hold the capital. When the humans came, the defenders expected a siege, but the humans did not waste time with walls. They descended from the sky with precision strikes, cutting supply depots, disabling command centers, and spreading chaos before the enemy could even understand what was happening. By the second day, the army surrendered. By the third, the human banner flew above the capital's towers. The galaxy watched in disbelief. How could a species erased from history now command such power? How could a people once marked for extinction now bring empires to their knees? The truth was simple. Humanity had learned in exile what the galaxy had never understood. To live without a home is to carry war inside your blood. To lose everything is to fear nothing. Captain Adrian Kyle knew this better than anyone. Standing on the bridge of the Resolute, he looked out at the captured world below. They thought fire would destroy us, he told his crew. But fire only forged us harder. This war is not for revenge alone. It is for the galaxy's memory. They will never forget humanity again. The humans were not without allies. Slowly, other species began to approach them in secret. Small colonies, tired of the Council's iron rule, reached out to the forgotten fleet. They offered supplies, intelligence, even soldiers. To them, humanity was not just a ghost, it was hope. And so the fleet grew. With every strike, with every victory, the shadow of humanity spread wider, but victory carried its own danger. The more worlds they conquered, the more enemies they gained. The Council, humiliated and afraid, finally united its fractured empires. They built an armada larger than anything the galaxy had seen before. 1,000 ships gathered under one banner, their weapons aimed at the humans. The war was no longer whispers in the dark. It was open. It was brutal. It was the fight for the galaxy's future. When the armada moved, the galaxy held its breath. Some prayed the Council would crush the humans once and for all. Others prayed for the opposite, desperate to see the old rulers fall. And in the heart of the void, the forgotten fleet prepared for the battle they had waited generations to fight. They did not pray. They did not hope. They only sharpened their weapons and remembered the flames of Earth, because humanity had been erased once. It would never happen again. The galaxy had never seen such a gathering. From one end of the stars to the other, fleets moved toward a single point. The Council's armada was vast, more than 1,000 ships strong, glowing with the power of every empire united in fear. Worlds emptied their shipyards, and admirals promised their people that this would be the final battle, the end of the human shadow haunting the galaxy. They told themselves this war was about safety, but deep down, every commander knew the truth. This war was about pride. It was about undoing the shame of failure. Humanity had been marked for extinction once. If the Council failed again, their rule would collapse forever. Across the void, the forgotten fleet prepared in silence. Their numbers were fewer, only hundreds of ships against thousands. Yet there was no fear in their halls. Men and women who had been raised in exile looked at their leaders with calm determination. They had lived through worse. They had survived the burning of Earth, the long centuries of hiding, the endless weight of being hunted by memory alone. Now finally, they faced their enemy in the open. On the bridge of the Resolute, Captain Adrian Kyle stood tall, his hands behind his back. Around him, the crew worked with precision, their faces marked not with terror, but with focus. For them, this was not a battle they could choose. This was the destiny they had carried for generations. They outnumber us, one officer said quietly. They always have, Kyle replied. But numbers do not decide survival. Will does. And our will has never broken. The fleets met in the black expanse of a dead system, its sun long extinguished, its planets nothing more than drifting stone. It was a fitting stage, cold, empty, and silent, until fire filled it once more. The Council struck first, sending wave after wave of ships forward. Beams of light split the darkness, missiles cut through the void, and shields flared with energy. The humans answered not with fear, but with precision. Their ships moved like predators, vanishing into cloaked fields and reappearing behind enemy lines. Entire squadrons of Council vessels exploded before their admirals understood what was happening. But the Council's strength was overwhelming. For every enemy destroyed, another 3 appeared. Human ships were torn apart, their wreckage scattering across the dead system. The galaxy watched in silence as reports streamed across networks. Some whispered that the humans would finally be broken. Others prayed they would hold. Through the chaos, the Resolute fought at the center, carving a path through ships 10 times its size. Its weapons cut deep, its engines burning brighter than ever before. Gale stood unmoving, his eyes fixed on the map as the Council armada pressed closer. "They will try to surround us," he said. "They will think victory is certain. That is when we strike," and so the humans waited. They let the Council believe the battle was theirs. They let them press forward, drawing the fleet into a net they did not see. Then at Kale's order, the trap was sprung. From the edge of the system, hidden ships emerged, massive carriers and cruisers that had never been revealed until now. They had waited in silence, cloaked by technology the Council did not understand. And they did not come alone. With them came allies. Small fleets of alien defectors, colonies who had sworn loyalty to the human cause, now stood against the very Council that had ruled them. The Council was stunned. Their formation shattered as the hidden fleets struck from behind. Suddenly the humans were not outnumbered. They were the hunters. The battle raged for hours. Explosions lit the void, turning the dead system into a sea of fire. One by one, Council admirals fell silent, their ships consumed by the fury they had once unleashed on Earth. When the smoke cleared, only fragments of the Great Armada remained. The Council had gambled everything and lost. News spread like a tidal wave. Worlds that had once celebrated humanity's destruction now looked up at the stars with new fear. The galaxy understood the truth. The species once erased had returned, not as survivors, but as rulers. In the Council chambers, silence reigned. The leaders, who had once spoken of humanity as a disease, now faced the reality that the disease had become the cure, and the Council itself was the infection. Some called for surrender, others fled, abandoning their thrones before the humans arrived. Power crumbled like stone in a storm, and above them all, the forgotten fleet advanced. On the day the Council capital fell, humanity did not raise its banner in celebration. They raised it in warning. Kyle stood before billions, his voice carried across every world. "You tried to erase us," he said, his words cold and steady. "You failed. And now we take our place, not as slaves, not as ghosts, but as masters of our own fate. The galaxy will never forget humanity again." The stars were silent after his speech, but silence no longer meant absence. It meant dominance. It meant the galaxy now lived in the shadow of a species it had once betrayed. Humanity, once broken, now stood unchallenged. Not victims, not prey, but conquerors. And every world that looked to the night sky saw the same truth. Erase humanity once, and it will return as legend. Erase it twice, and it will return as destiny. Humanity had taken the galaxy for itself.